selfish. I want you to myself, I can't help it.
Alright guys, so Crypto 38 here, and I'm going to give you a very simple overview of Bitcoin and its price and what I think is coming next. Am I bullish? Of course, I've always been bullish on Bitcoin, but I actually think that we're moving along here. My last video that I made, I told you about how we needed to stay above 9,100, and then from 9,100 we went all the way up to like 12,500, and then we've been coming down ever since. We actually came all the way back down to, I think it was like 10,200, maybe even lower than that, right? So, but if you notice, the best indicator to help you know when to buy or add money or get out, in my opinion, and I've been doing this since 2017, and that's when the RSI indicator down here, the relative strength index, goes above 70. That's when you do not want to buy, and that's when you do want to take profit if you are in profit zone, right? Because after that, it generally keeps coming down, and it's going to come under the 30 on the RSI, and then usually from there it bounces back up, and it repeats the same process over and over and over again. Does it happen that way 100% of the time? No, it doesn't. But the probabilities of it going to 70 and then down to 30 and then 70 and then down to 30 are in your favor. So the best times to always buy is when the RSI indicator is down here low. That would be the best time to buy. And the best time to sell and get out would be when it's up here, when it's 70. And so if we take, for example, we was at 9,100 for some time. I'm going to shorten up the graph for you. So you can see when we took off here, and this was 6,000, from 6,000, then we had support at 7,600 area, right? And then we bounced, and that's when we hit over 9,100. And we was just consolidating in that brief period there. I know it took a while, but we were consolidating that whole time. That means people were just buying at that time. And then finally you seen the bounce up. Now from this bounce up, it's doing the same thing that it was doing here. It's consolidating, even though there was a big drop there. It's consolidating as more and more people add to their accounts or start to enter into the Bitcoin market, right? So once this starts consolidating, usually what I said goes to 70, comes to 30, and usually goes back up. Since we're getting a lot of good news, I see it going right back up, passing over 12,500. It might be this range here, 10,800, $11,000 range, you know, because Bitcoin goes up and down so much. It's only going to be there for a little while, and then you're never going to see that again. In the same way, you ain't never going to see 6,000 again. I doubt it. You're never going to see 6,000 again. The same way that when it went to 3,000, I doubt it'll ever go back down to that. And the reason I say that is because the Bitcoin market is capped. And so it's only 21 million. It's not like the US dollar where you could just keep printing. And as the years go along, if you look at Bitcoin's bigger picture, you're going to see it's going up little by little, and every here and there, just going to have these big wild mood swings. But if you've been holding and you just hold and let it sit there, it's still going up. It's not going down no more. That's just the way the cycles go. And that's what we did here. We went up, we consolidated around 9,100. That's what I told you in my last video. As long as we stay above here, we're fine. And that's exactly what we did. We pumped. We went all the way to like 12,500. Now it's time to consolidate, right? Because we was here, right? Look how high we was. That we needed to come back down to 30. So it's basically temperatures is calming down. And then here in this process is where people start adding more money again, because they seen it went all the way down here to 30. So people start buying here or adding to their positions, right? And then the same process starts all over again. Now, again, does that happen all the time? No, it does not. Now I'm going to show you Ethereum. Well, let's go down the road. You got the contender of Bitcoin, which is BSV, and that's at 172. So if you look at the chart pattern, you're going to see above 70. That's when it's time for you to get out. It came back all the way down to 30. This is where you're supposed to buy if you wanted to get in there, and then it's going to go up to 70. Same process. Going down to Ethereum. Here we go, 364. We already know it was close to $490, $500. That was too high. You can see here on the RSI 70. That means it had to come down and cool down. And it didn't go under 30, but it bounced here twice, and it looks like it's done with cooling down. So if the probability, if you guessing when should I enter into this, then the probability, even though I'm not a financial advisor, I know that from looking at this chart here, that every time this hits that area there, after that it goes up at some point. Sometimes it may stay down there for a while, right? And that's where you gotta make the decision whether you want to stay, get in, hold. But majority of the time when it hits there, it goes back up. Litecoin. So here you go, Litecoin, same thing. It went RSI above 70, right? That was the highest it went. Time to take profit. Things are starting to cool down. It comes down all the way down to 30. Now it's really when people start adding more money because the probability of it going up is in their favor. So it's like, you know, educated gambling, basically, if you really want to think about it, because you're taking a risk. So it is a gamble. So now we go here to gold. Gold, you can see gold is on the uptrend. These other two lines that I have here are other indicators that I use as well. This is the 200 simple moving average, and this is the 26 exponential moving average. But you can see gold, same thing, tops out over the RSI 70. People start taking profit, start coming back down to 30. Here's where people start buying more Bitcoin, or I mean, people start buying more gold. And then the same process happens again. Usually that's how it goes. Silver, same thing. Went up to 70, didn't come down. It didn't want to cool down. Went back up over 70, right? And then it started to cool down, and then it went even higher than that. See, so sometimes it doesn't always come down. And then look how high it went. You knew at some point it had to come down and cool down, and that's exactly what it did. And it went under 30. As soon as it went under 30, it started coming back up. Why does it do that? I don't know. I just know that following this indicator seems to repeat that pattern more times than not. This is the U.S. Dow Jones. Same thing. We had the crash here, right? People start buying. Hits over 70. Had to go to this little tiny crash. Everybody started freaking out, but it was nothing bad because it wasn't even. It didn't even have come down under 30 yet. Then it was just going sideways. Went over 70 again, and then it started coming down. And everybody started freaking out all over again, but it actually hadn't gone down to 30. And then here it spiked up, and it's hitting the 200-day moving average, so it's probably going to bounce right back up. Same thing here. This is going. Now you could tell here how this is the tech giants here, right? And we had the huge drop, coronavirus, went all the way up to 70. Didn't want to come down, stood up there during the whole pandemic. Everybody was using technology more than anything else. And then here you have finally had to come to cool down, right? And it never hit 30, so it's a good chance it could come right back down again on this one because it's still too high, right? At some point, it always has to come back down and do this at some point. The higher it goes, the less likely when it comes back down that it's gonna keep going down, because it depends also on the pattern. So here you notice it was a drop. Here you already notice it's an uptrend. It's above this yellow line. That's an uptrend. You can see it clearly on the chart. We go to the S&P 500. Here you go. Same thing. coronavirus stimulus package, right? Tech stocks doing good. Hits over 70, right? Because it did it here, but then it never came back down to 30. So if you was waiting to get back in, you would have to wait till it comes down to 30. And if you got in here, then you would have been fine. But you want to get the cheapest price when it gets under 30. So when it hits here 30, it would never even made it to 30. But I get this general area, you just envision a circle there, that'll let you know that's the area that you need to buy. And then from there, it's going to come back up to 70, and it's the repeated process over and over again. Shanghai deposit, same thing. Here you go. RSI, it went under, it needed to come up, it never made it on the 70, it went back under. It's trying to work its way back to 70. Finally, it makes it over 70. Here, people take profit. Now it needs to come back down 30, which has been kind of close, but not yet. And that's the Shanghai composite. So this still has room for it to come down before it goes back up. US dollar has been on the downtrend. So you see here, it spiked. Then ever since after that, it's been coming out. But if you notice here, in this level here, kind of like it's going sideways, so people will consolidate and more people starting to hoard cash, right, for emergency cases. And plus, it went all the way down under 30. And this, once it goes in this area, that's when you're supposed to buy. You don't want to buy when it's up here. You want to buy when it's under the 30 RSI. And then here, if you bought here and just waited, right now you will be in profit zone. If you've seen this and said, oh my God, it's going up, let me get in, and then you get in, now you're stuck in this trade until you either get out or just wait it out, right? And you don't want to do that. You want to get it here. So if it went down here, below the thirds out, this is when you would have got in, you would have made a killing right there, right? U.S. oil, as we know, has been stuck around $40 for the longest. So there you go, the big drop during the pandemic. And then it's been going up slowly, and right now it's just leveling out. It almost looks like as if it's just gonna go like this, and then come back down. That's what it looks like. But we're gonna see, because here is a level of either support or resistance that's being created. And this has been on a downtrend, so that's why you look at it that way. But when you look at the RSI, it's letting you know that it already hit 30, so it's ready to go up. So this can actually start going up now, and we're about to see. And this also on a downtrend, pandemic, it's been consolidating this whole time, just going sideways. And it's been kind of like up and down, but in small frames. And right now the best thing to do is just wait it out on the US 10-year. But it's on a downtrend, obviously. You can see the yellow arrow, the yellow line is now above the candlesticks. So that means now we're on a downtrend. And then it looks like it might have hit a bottom, and that's why it started going sideways. And then if it's a bottom, it'll end up going back up. But if it's a bottom that's not sustainable and there's a broken bridge ahead, then it's just gonna go down, right? So that's a wrap. All the stocks or cryptocurrency I have in my watch list. If you want to download this is TradingView. This is free. You can sign up with a subscription with them. And if you want the premium version, then you'll pay for the premium version. But this is what they have. Now, I prefer Bitcoin because I noticed that when Bitcoin goes up, the entire crypto market goes up. When Bitcoin goes down, the entire crypto market goes down. That doesn't mean I don't like other coins. I do like other coins, but you have to do your research. When I started, it was like 2,000 coins. Now I think it's like 7,000 coins or something. So you have to do your research on the coins you decide you want to invest your money in. And it's always better to invest for a long term, right? A lot of these are new applications and basically test nets, but it's the new digital world we're going into. But everybody mostly invests in Bitcoin is the main dog, so that's the one I am. And the second big dog to me is Ethereum, right? You consider Litecoin the silver. So I always watch those three because those were basically kind of like the originals when I started. And as you can see, they're still alive. Just like in the gold market here, you have a high price for gold. Maybe I don't want to buy $1,880 worth of gold. Maybe I'll settle for $100 and buy 4 fake silver pieces, right? Because this is just digital stock, right? It's not like if you make some money here and you close out your trade, it's not like you're gonna receive in the mail a whole bunch of silver coins. No, this is just all digital. It's just all make believe basically, and you're just trading it, right? It's the same thing. Everywhere you go, same thing. RSI 70, time to get out. Under 30, time to get in. Alright? Now, if you want to know why do I favor Bitcoin over gold? I'm not saying you do not own gold. I would, if I can, and I can afford it, then I would hold silver, a little bit of silver, a little bit of gold, and have a lot of Bitcoin. Why? Well, carrying your money around in Bitcoin is much easier than carrying bars of gold everywhere you go. It's way too heavy. Plus, it could always be confiscated. So here, for example, in between 1933 and like 1986, there was a bunch of laws that required anybody who owned a certain amount of gold to turn in that gold. And little by little, those laws kept getting stricter and stricter until people opposed it. And then after the people rising up and opposing to those laws, we are now allowed to own gold. But from what I understand, those laws are still in the books. They just don't enforce them no more. So I guess they're waiting for a day when they need to enforce it, right? But this is it here. And that's one of the reasons that I like Bitcoin, is because once you have it on your hardware wallet, it's much easier for you to carry it around. And if you memorize your seed, your address, right, to access your Bitcoin, if you memorize it, then that's it. Nobody can get into your brain, right? And if you start teaching your kids that from a very little age, how to memorize these addresses, which will probably get easier and easier as you go along, because everybody's always developing new technology on top of this, it's going to be way easier. But, you know, if you're going to take 100 pounds of gold across the border from your apartment in New York City, it's going to be pretty heavy. Okay, now with Bitcoin, I can just put it in my little hardware wallet. There's satellites up in the sky already that's done by blockchain. You can look that up on Google yourself, and you'll still be able to connect even without an internet, because people are working on these projects and making it so that everybody can always have access to money to buy some food to eat. Because sometimes governments take it too far, and they may dislike you because you're always criticizing them for the stuff that they be doing, and people don't like to be exposed, right? People don't like to be exposed. So if you're that type of person that's looking for change and always seeking for things to be better, you have no choice but to complain, because if you don't complain, the system never gets better. It just keeps on going the same way. But they don't like that, so they're going to come up with rules to try to keep you contained so you won't be a pest, right? So one of the means that they started using were governments around the world was the currency. So they control you with the money, and if everything is digital, they'll be able to let you out your house or not, let you use the train, let you buy a ticket, just in the same way they do in China, right? So somebody just came up with an idea and said, no, what if we separate money from states and people, right? And make it decentralized in the same way that they took the First Amendment and they decided to separate religion from the states. So if your government was a Roman Catholic, back in the days, that means that everybody in that population pretty much had to be Roman Catholic, right? If you go to another country and the leader of that country was Muslim, mostly everybody in that his kingdom would have to have been Muslim, or his nation would have been Muslim, right? And if the person was a Protestant, then everybody there had to be Protestant, whoever lived in that whole area. Well, somebody came up with the idea and said, well, this is causing a lot of problems, a lot of friction in the world, so let's separate religion from the state and just allow everybody to believe in whatever they want. And that was one of the greatest things that ever happened, because me living in an urban environment where I come across a lot of people all the time, most people don't really care about religion anymore, and they're not fighting over religion like they used to be fighting over religion, right? And so that means that was a good thing. So the same thing is what people want to do with money. They want to separate it so that it's decentralized and no one entity can control it in any specific way. Because then if being that human nature just tends to corrupt itself as it gets all this power, like I said, if they dislike you for some political view, maybe they think, oh, well, your socialistic view is no good, it's only capitalism, and then the other person will go, well, no, it's only capitalism, and that's working, and it's socialism that doesn't work, right? And then we're both stuck in that phase, when instead what we should be doing is looking at both capitalism and socialism, and then you take what's good from both systems, and then you make an even better system. But if you see that the first system is not working properly, because it is working, it's just not working properly because the income inequality gap keeps getting bigger, then you just need to fix that. And instead of fighting and everybody just putting up a flag on each side and saying, well, I'm sticking to this side and that person is sticking to this side, there needs to be more agreement in the middle to make it better, right? And if you think about it, in everywhere you go now, probably in the world, there is some form of capitalism and socialism kind of like working along with each other. So there are ways of making the system better, right? But some people don't want to completely change it. And so if you have control of the money, then you can direct things the way you want in your manner, because that puts pressure on people, and that's not good, right? In my opinion, I think that's good. So anyway, back to the Bitcoin chart. Here you go. Right now, it looks like we're establishing a brand new high support. It's going to be. You can tell. You see right here, it's going sideways, and then you have this pump, meaning people putting money in there, and then some people taking profit, and then people continue putting money into it, and it's all consolidating, but it's actually going up like pyramid steps over the Mayan, when you're going up the big Mayan steps in Mexico, right? And you go 1 step, 2 step, 3 steps, right? And that's what's happening now. So that's all we have to do. We just have to wait for that. And I'll give you another update some time down the road. Long as, again, we stay above 9,100, we're doing fine. At any point here, I would add money. In fact, I did actually add money when it hit the last time again to, I think it was 10,300. I added a little more, bought a little more Bitcoin. And that's how you call it dollar cost average, right? Instead of just going crazy, when it dips, you add a little bit of money. It doesn't have to be much. You can add $12, right? You can add $20, you can add $50 when you want to, because you're regulating your own bank. It's your money. You're not pressured by anybody to add the money. When you have it, you add it. You don't have to meet a certain agreement every month to pay $100 every month, because if you don't pay that every month, then now they're going to terminate the contract, and then all the money you invested in is going to be gone. You're going to be so upset, right? You know, that psychological and stress that it causes you to try to make that payment drives you nuts, right? But with Bitcoin, you just put a little bit at a time, as long as you want. Little bit. You don't need $10,000. You let it sit there, you let it grow, and eventually you're going to see that it starts growing. All you have to do is try it out yourself. Always do the research before you get into any type of crypto. And that's my overview of Bitcoin and the markets.
I'm